Basically, America is making every NATO nation into little Americas. All of the things that are wrong in the United States of America that people like myself, people like yourselves, regularly criticize, that our spending priorities are completely out of whack, where we just constantly fund and subsidize this machine rather than fixing our roads or fixing our infrastructure in general, making sure that we have adequate public transit in cities. Anyway, Trump slams radical left and NATO ally Spain in fiery White House remarks.
Right. He's got one giving him tremendously bad press, even though they know it's wrong. He's got to hold true to his principles because he's going to win. He's going to win. He's doing the right thing. Everybody knows he's doing the right thing, but you have a radical left sick culture that's a very dangerous group of people. And they're trying to make him look bad. I believe he's going to win out.
And we're doing the right way with China.
China? Well, you have to be careful with China. Look, everybody deals with China. They have to deal with us too. We have to be careful with China. Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi, but sometimes it gets testy because China likes to take advantage of people, and they can't take advantage of us. But we have a fair relationship with China, and I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, that's okay too. You have to do and go where the punches are thrown. You got to put up the blocks. We have a lot of punches being thrown, and we've been very successful. Look, we have the most success. I think we're the most successful we've ever been as a country. We have now close. I've been saying 17. We have, I think, close to or maybe even exceeding $18 trillion. Going to be invested in the United States. That's more money than ever invested in any country before. Even countries with much bigger populations like India or like China, nobody's ever had $18 trillion invested in the country. We have, and that's because of November 5th election, because I won. Oh, if she won, you'd be negative. You'd have people getting out of the country. This country would have been in a major depression. If she...
Yes, I've gotten $17 quintillion to American economy. If Kamala won, we would be $700 billion quintillion in debt. Bodies on the streets. Thank God I won. Because I did all the good things. Nothing bad can happen. Only good can happen.
We would have been 1929. They'd like to see that anyway. That's why they keep the government laws. They have a shutdown based on nonsense. They want to give away 1.5. Think of it. They want to give away $1.5 trillion to people that come into the country illegally.
Like that. This is a falsehood. For those of you, it's kind of funny whenever I say this is something that Donald Trump is lying about. Everything he's saying is a lie. But this one is very deliberate, right? The $1.5 trillion is actually the maximalist goal that they have for how much they want to cut healthcare, okay? Healthcare subsidies. Because in this country, healthcare is unfortunately a private-public partnership where the public side, the government, subsidizes private healthcare companies that actually are an unnecessary and bloated middleman, but they exist regardless. And what they are trying to do is cut those subsidies by $1.5 trillion in an effort to justify the much larger amount of tax cuts that the super wealthy are getting from the big, beautiful bill that he passed. Okay? So when he says $1.5 trillion in funding for documented health care, it's actually bullshit. What he means is the $800 billion in Medicaid coverage that is going to be cut that will knock out tens of millions of Americans from their Medicaid payments, because it will either stop them from being able to receive Medicaid, or it will just directly cut the funding in its entirety, and people won't be able to pay for that healthcare without the Medicaid subsidies. Okay? But of course, he can't say that he is trying to kill his voters, or at the very least, like he is trying to actively take away his voters' health care. So he has to claim that it's actually him taking away health care that the Democrats wanted to give to undocumented migrants. That's it. In the past, this used to be the main op for the reactionary force in this country was black people. That's where the welfare queens rhetoric came from, right? Welfare queens were like black women that were taking advantage of all of the limited assistance that the government is offering the extremely poor people in this country. And a lot of white people were on board with cutting these social safety nets because they were, in their minds, envisioning that it was black people that were actually stealing these subsidies, these entitlements. Now, instead of saying it's black people, now they say it's undocumented migrants. They've basically substituted it. Obviously, the goal is still the same. The goal is to cut social safety nets. Okay?
And as you know, the borders now are closed. But when they hear that they get the greatest health care package in the world and they have no money, but they're living okay in another country, they head up and they start forming caravans and they try and come into our country. But the big problem is they want to give health care to people that should not get health care. They want to give health care to illegal immigrants by the millions. Look at Gavin Newsom, what he's done. He's ruined California. He gives health care to anybody. And I guess they do it for votes. I actually think it's bad politics, but I guess they do it for votes. So I'm with this man because his philosophy is correct. And he may win and he may not win, but I think he's going to win. And if he wins, we're staying with him. And if he doesn't win, we're gone.
How can Argentina can help to the peace process, to the Middle East peace process?
They can help by doing well. If Argentina does well, that's helpful because they know we help Argentina. So if Argentina is successful, that's great because they view us as somebody that helped Argentina and they did well, and the United States maybe will help them and they're going to do well. So the success of Argentina would be a great feather in the cap of the USA because we're helping them. Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, please, behind you. Behind you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week you said that NATO should consider expelling Spain.
What?
You said that NATO should consider expelling Spain. Would you support that?
What did expelling Spain?
NATO consider expelling.
I'm very unhappy with Spain. They're the only country that didn't raise up their number to 5%. Every other country in NATO raised up to 5%. And Spain is doing very well off our backs. So I'm not happy with Spain. Spain gets protection, and they know, look, they're sort of in the semi-middle of it, so they're going to get protected automatically. Even if you don't want to protect them, you're protecting them because of the way they're located. And I think what Spain did is a very bad thing for NATO. I think it's very unfair to NATO. It wouldn't matter if you said you're not going to protect them because they're pretty much protected. What are you going to do? Go through the other countries and let's go attack Spain, right? So I think what they did is not nice.
Not nice. How dare they not increase their defense expenditure to 5% of their GDP? No one gets to have social safety nets. Everyone needs to be American burger. Everyone must be America burger. No more social safety nets for you in Europe. What did Spain do? Spain was one of the only countries under NATO protection that refused to increase their defense expenditures to 5% of the GDP. All of these other countries have said, yes, sir, yes, Mr. President, we're going to do that. For a lot of these other countries, obviously moving numbers around in that regard means severe austerity in other places. Austerity for social safety nets, whether it be entitlements, whether it be like, unemployment spending, or whether it be obviously so whatever kind of like pension programs that they have or healthcare in many instances. So what the American government is demanding from them is to reduce the expenditures on all of the social stuff that people take advantage of, that people actually need to survive, and reprioritize that spending on defense. And of course, given that we are the number one weapons dealer on the planet, they want that money to come back to the United States for our domestic manufacturing, for our weapons that we sell them. Some of the other countries have actually started creating their own competitive domestic markets their own domestic defense industry, Germany being one of the examples of this. I don't know how Donald Trump will appreciate that. That's another thing that I don't understand completely, because like some countries are basically saying like, okay, well, we'll increase our expenditure, but we are going to spend it on ourselves again. We're going to rebuild our defense industries, and we are going to militarize. Basically, America is making every NATO nation into little Americas. All of the things that are wrong in the United States of America that people like myself, people like yourselves, regularly criticize, that our spending priorities are completely out of whack, where we just constantly fund and subsidize this war machine rather than fixing our roads or fixing our infrastructure in general, making sure that we have adequate public transit in cities. Instead of doing any of that, fixing our education, fixing healthcare, instead of spending this money on ourselves, we spend it on war, more weapons of mass destruction, both on the R&D side and also on the subsidies we give to other countries so they can buy our weapons, right? Like, it's just this endless cycle of militarism, and every single thing that we complain about here in the United States of America as leftists, as socialists, as Marxists, okay, as radicals, is in Europe's immediate future. A lot of the European countries have already developed austerity measures in the last 20 years or so, and this has obviously created a lot of instability, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. All of that resentment by right-wing forces has been directly shifted onto the refugees, partially the refugee crisis that we here in the United States of America greatly contributed to by destabilizing the entire region. Obviously, if you destabilize and kick people out of their homes like to the tens of millions, they're going to have to go somewhere else to survive, and that somewhere else is either Turkey or Europe. And right-wingers in Europe have used that as an opportunity to say, it's actually not the austerity backed by capital owners. It's actually the Muslims that are coming here that are like ruining your day-to-day existence. And America is now enforcing that. 1.5% of the 5% was for infrastructure. They just never told Trump that, so he can say 5%. I mean, I think no matter what happens, Europe is seemingly building its domestic military infrastructure and building its domestic military manufacturing, like domestic weapons manufacturing sectors.
I think it's very disrespectful to NATO. In fact, I was thinking about giving them trade punishment through tariffs because of what they did. And I may do that. I think unbelievably disrespectful. Spain, the only one out of all the countries in NATO, the only one that said that is Spain. And I think that's, I think they should be punished for that. Yes, I do.
On the government shutdown, you have the money to pay the troops on October 15th. Okay, how is
I actually have a man who is a very wealthy person, you'll know that when I tell you this, who called a donor, a great gentleman, and he said, if there's any money necessary, shortfall, for the paying of the troops, then I will pay it, meaning he will pay it. How about that? I said, look, we're not going to need it. We're going to take care of our troops, but this was a position that's being forced upon us by Democrats, and all they have to do is just sign a piece of paper saying we're going to keep it going the way it is. You know, there's nothing. It's not like, it shouldn't even be an argument. They've signed it many times before. I don't want to bore you with the fact that Schumer said 100 times, you should never close up government. But Schumer's a weakened politician. I mean, he's going to finish his career as a failed politician. He's a failed politician. He's allowed.
Okay, before we get into all this stuff, I do want to bring the conversation. But anyway, let's get back to our big, beautiful, bold president talking about radical Spain not pushing for American-style burger austerity in an effort to restructure their entire economy so that 5% of their GDP goes to defense spending.
Allowed the radical left to take over the Democrat Party.
Like, this kind of shit is not exactly exciting for the base. You know, this is the opposite. This is like his version of, I did NATO, Jack. This kind of stuff is obviously very exciting for the military-industrial complex, the real benefactors, right? But it's not necessarily exciting for the base. He's still working through the motions, though, in the way that he wants to.
So if they write books about that, if they write books about him, they're going to have to say that his career ended by allowing the radical left to take over the party. I mean, I won an election in a landslide because people are not into the radical left, and the Democrat Party is. People didn't want to see men playing in women's sports. They didn't want to see transgender for everybody. They didn't want to see all of the different things that they do that's so crazy. Open borders. I mean, the worst thing that he did to us, it's not inflation, because we fixed inflation. Prices are way down.
Transgender for everybody.
I don't know if you saw that gasoline went to 58 just now. Did you see what's going on with gasoline?
We track that.
No, $58 a barrel.
Yeah, we track that.
Nobody can believe it. I'm very proud of that. You know why? Because we're pumping like we've never pumped before. Because if you get the gas price down, everything else comes down. It's very simple. And he went away from my policies, and you had the greatest inflation. The last administration had the greatest inflation in the history of our country. And now, as you know, groceries are down. It's all down.
Is it? It don't feel like it. I don't know. I mean, oil prices are the only thing that's like seemingly down, but everything else doesn't seem to be down at all. And if you ask the average Republican, I don't think they think the grocery prices are down either. They actually complain about it quite a bit. And it's not just the grocery prices, it's the rent. It's the rent that is like very costly. It's the healthcare that is very costly. It's the medicine that's very costly. So oil is supposed to gear the entirety of the economy. And when the oil prices go down, all the other prices are supposed to readjust, and they're supposed to go down as well, except they haven't. And in the absence of any sort of like regulatory control, in the absence of any sort of like price controls, for example, which I know is a scary fucking statement to make, or even utilities prices are also up too, especially energy, like electricity prices are up. It's all fucked. That's the real issue. And in the absence of solving that real issue, discontent will only continue to grow. And Trump can still keep redirecting the attention to a more appropriate target by his own, grand design, the transgender, Antifa, radical Marxists, and the undocumented Guatemalans or whatever. But ultimately, you can't just keep coasting on. You can't keep coasting on how great things actually are in secret, how great things are for the stock market. And then not expect your own base to go, man, you do talk about the stock market quite a bit. And while some of us have 401ks, like that's not really actually translating to my pockets hurting less year over year.
On the shutdown, are you settling in for?
And in terms of the economy and the way that people feel, the way that people perceive the economy, for the record, and this is the most important thing, this was a major issue with the Brandon administration as well. It partially led to the Democrats losing the election to Donald Trump. It played a big role in the Democrats losing the election to Donald Trump. They thought that they could just like communicate their way out of this. They thought they could be like, no, it's just vibes. Your pockets aren't actually hurting. Your pockets aren't actually hurting. And obviously that was not something that people were willing to entertain. Clearly people feel the way that they feel when they see how much money they have left at the end of the month. And it's not because they're spending, they're spending all their budget and blowing it on like avocado toast, as they used to say about the millennials. I don't know what they say about Gen Z, I guess OnlyFans maybe, or gambling. But it's not that. It's that the overall 90% that is not in the top 10% of wealth that has ownership stake in the stock market at least. But for the 90% of Americans that live in the real world, it's not because like Netflix and DoorDash and Disney Plus subscriptions that are really burning a fucking hole in their budgets. It's the fact that rent is 50% of their wages. That is fucking insane. As long as rent is 50% of people's wages, even if wages go up, it doesn't feel like wages are going up, okay? And marginal price shocks, marginal increases in the cost of goods overall is going to be felt way harder by people like this because they automatically don't have 50% of the wages. Like it's going you know, 10% is going to like healthcare and stuff, and then the 50% is going to their rent, what are they supposed to do? What the fuck are they supposed to do? People are obviously frustrated. And in the absence of any sort of solution to that, you can fucking cry about transgender people all day, every day, but people are still going to get mad. Okay?
Is this going to be a long term? Are we looking months?
It's up to them. All they have to do is just vote to extend. We don't need it. We're not saying we want money. We don't. What we need is a right to extend. They want a right to extend, but they want $1.5 trillion so they can give it away to illegal immigrants. The people that.
Yeah, MTG's picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, this was an incredible moment of brutal honesty once again from the least likely person. Marjorie Titan Green, once again, spitting on another podcast, talking about the affordability crisis that is harming everyday Americans, even Republicans.
Like, those are the two things I can't find. And when Republicans, and I'm criticizing also Congress big time. I'm really grateful to a lot of the things the president is doing, but I'm really upset with the direction Congress is going. But when we are not doing anything to address the cost of living, we aren't doing anything about Blackstone buying up houses where most young people can't find a house and they're having to compete in bidding wars.
Right.
And we're not doing anything.
Marxist Tito is green. Maoist Tito is green.
About health insurance premiums. Then for the love of God, what are we doing?
That's it. And the reality of the matter is that kind of fake populism was also pushed by Donald Trump. That's how he won. Donald Trump didn't just coast off of racial animus, okay? I know that played a formative role in his commentary in the election cycle, but he didn't just coast off of that. He packaged that with the affordability crisis. He looked at the affordability crisis and presented it and presented the enemies, presented the reason for that affordability crisis with a Democratic Party that was unable or disinterested in actually solving the affordability crisis because they were too invested in giving all the money to the undocumenteds, to the illegal aliens, right? That's what he did. But certainly some people who cared about the undocumented equation, either because they were duped into believing that it was actually undocumented migrants that were stealing all of their welfare or some shit, which is wrong, obviously. It's not real at all. That's completely made up. But there were plenty of others who were also like, yeah, I don't really give a shit. I just don't want Mexicans around me, right? I don't want black and brown people around me. This is definitely an animating political force in this country. White supremacy has been left unaddressed for hundreds of years in this nation, and white supremacy is a major motivator for a lot of people. However, if you want to capture the attention of the broadest subsect of Americans, simply farming white supremacy and racialized animus and pushing for white nativist anti-immigrant sentiments are not actually going to move the needle for many people. After a certain point, they're going to realize, okay, you're doing mass deportations, you're funding the fuck out of ICE, these guys are actually creating so much chaos in my neighborhood, and it doesn't feel like my pockets are hurting any less. And at that point, you need a united popular front
that are invading your cities. And many of these people, for whatever reason, I mean, I understood this, I called it a long time ago. These countries are run by people I know, friends of mine. Like, I know this gentleman. I hope you haven't said, he probably did too, why not? They send up their worst people. They send up people that are criminals, they send up people from jails. And at best, the best ones they send up are people that don't work very hard and that are on a social form of welfare. And they're sending those people into the United States. I don't blame them. I'm angry at them, but I don't blame them. But I'm really angry at Biden and Kamala and that group of lunatics for allowing it to happen, because it's the hardest thing. Now, you know, we're sending them out. It's incredible the job that Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group is doing. But we shouldn't have to be doing that. We're doing a lot of work on getting people out of here. Tren de Aragua has caused tremendous damage, and our soldiers are great. You know, our soldiers are now based on merit. They're not based on woke, because we won the case in the Supreme Court, which was the bravest case. I have such respect for the Supreme Court because of what they did with merit. because our country was built on merit. Countries are destroyed on woke. You know, I made a statement, and I hated to make it because it sounded bad, but everything turns to you know what when it goes woke. You remember the term. I don't like to use it because you might have some children listening, but it turns bad. And no, we have the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. That's why he's here. That's why every other country wants to meet here too. But we only have so many hours in the day and days in the week. But look at the hottest country. Think of it. We were a dead country a year and a half ago. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's pretty good. Did a good job. Okay, any other questions?
Would you like to visit Argentina? Would you like to visit Argentina soon? There is an invitation for that.
What does that mean?
Do you like to visit Argentina soon?
I do. I would love to. I'm just a little busy. I would love to. I'd love to go to Argentina. I'd like to be like Biden. I'd like to go to the beach. You know? My legs are not quite as thin as his. My legs are slightly larger. My body is a little bit larger than his. I'm not sure it would be appreciated on the beach, but I'm not going to take a chance. You won't see me in a bathing suit. You won't see in a bathing suit sitting on a beach in Argentina, falling down, not being able to lift a 3-ounce chair, meant for old people to lift, and he couldn't lift it, so
Sometimes he has his moments, you know, like when he fat shames himself. That's funny. That's objectively a funny moment. It's just being self-aware of that and engaging in any sort of like self-deprecating humor of that sort is good. You do have to fucking hand it to him, I guess.
He spent too much time on the beach. Somebody told him that he looked good in a bathing suit.
The very fact that he doesn't have moments like this more frequently still implies that he's lost his sauce, though. He has lost his sauce for sure. Because I feel like in the past, he would have moments like this all the time. He would constantly have funny moments like this. Don't fall for his tricks. He's an automaton. I mean, I'm not falling for his tricks. He's still a giant piece of shit.
And you'd see this guy on the beach all the time. I never quite understood it. Steve, go ahead.
Could you preview your meeting with Ukraine President Zelensky? First of all, congratulations.
I don't take questions from ABC Fake News after what you did
So are
with
you.
Stephanopoulos
Fuck
to
you.
the Vice
Wait,
President
what?
of the United States.
Do we have a guy who hates Trump but also hates me as well? Is that what's going on here? You're like, you know, Trump is a piece of shit, but so are you. Okay, man. Yeah. All right.
I don't take questions from ABC Fake News. Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir. First of all, congratulations on achieving peace. You are indeed the peacemaker. On a lighter...
Did you ever think I was going to be called a peacemaker?
Actually, I did. I saw some of the actions you were doing.
Go ahead.
But on a lighter note, Alyssa Farah, she is one of the hosts on ABC's show The View. She said a while...
So much of this back and forth in the remaining servile media apparatus that is allowed in these fucking rooms revolves around he said, she said about like entertainment figures. How is this in any way, shape, or form advancing any sort of journalistic cause? I don't understand it. It's just like petty squabbles and drama. He is not a fucking television critic, okay? He's not a TV show critic. He's the motherfucking president. What are we doing, bro? What the hell are we doing?
Back, I'll quote, if Trump gets the Israeli hostages out, I promise I will wear a MAGA hat for one day on this show and say thank you for doing it. Your response.
Well, did she put the hat on?
Well, she hasn't got the hat yet.
Who is it? Which one?
Alyssa Farah.
Well, she used to work for me. So she used to work here. I'll tell you about Alyssa. She worked here. She gave me the most beautiful letter when, you know, the administration, the time came up, the election was rigged, I left. She gave me the most beautiful letter you've ever seen. I was a great president. What a great job. Some of the letters have been quoted. This is Alyssa, who I never thought was very outstanding. I figured she would not make it. And she didn't have a big role here either. And then we had January 6th, and she left after that or before that, but she gave me the most beautiful letters. And then even months after she left, and while we weren't here any longer, she sent another letter, glowing letter, beautiful letter. And then she got hired by The View, and they gave her a couple of bucks, and she changed her view very quickly. I never thought she'd make it. Never thought she had what it took in any way. You know what that means. But she's on The View. But it just shows what a fraud The View is, because this woman gave me letters and statements. She said I was the greatest president in her lifetime. Now, she's not that old, so I didn't consider it a great compliment.